We're going to talk to you today about fall color. So all kinds of flowers that you can use in the fall to get some color into your garden, and luckily that'll work not only for fall but for winter and the beginning of spring. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Chip and I plan to be doing a lot more videos for you. If you like them, please click on like and click on subscribe and click on the bell so that you'll be notified every Sunday when we post our new videos. I'm John Valentino, president of John and Bob's Corporation. I'm a landscape architect and a landscape contractor, and we're just about ready to start our 42nd year. So what we hope to do in this video and all the videos is impart some of what I've learned in those 42 years to you, and so stay tuned. So Chip and I are going to talk about a lot of different flowers that are treated pretty similarly because of when they do their best. One of the most popular plants for fall color and the most common are pansies, and they're spectacular and come in a lot of different colors. And see if you can follow this. Pansies are all violas, but violas are not all pansies. Now, violas, most people think of them as just kind of a dwarf pansy, and they are very similar to pansies. Violas are actually easier to grow, I find, and they do take cold weather better, but they have a smaller flower. They're not as spectacular. Pansies are, I think, more popular because of that bigger flower and a bigger display. Maybe take a little more care with the pansies to make them do fantastic. Pansies and violas both share this same requirement in terms of timing planting, and that is, if you want them to bloom in the fall and the winter, you need to plant them very early, probably either very early fall, like right now we're in almost mid-December. This would be too late to plant them in the ground in my area. Our area is Central California. So most parts of California, it would be better to plant them late September or early October. But the whole idea is, if you can plant them when it's still warm and you have highs in the 70s and 80s, you can get them started to blooming, and that way they'll bloom right through the fall and even in the winter some, and then they'll explode in the spring. Most of these that I'm going to be showing you actually do fantastic in spring, but they are the best bet for fall and winter color. But if you wait till mid-December to plant them, you're not going to get much winter color. They're going to sit there and root and get ready and poise themselves and then explode in the spring. So if we're timing everything properly and we've got some warmth left in the season, then the other thing we need to do at the same time is feed like crazy, because we don't want our Iceland poppies to just have one flower. We want them to bloom a little more as we're in the fall and the winter, and we can get them blooming pretty well if we feed them aggressively right when we plant them. So whether that's very late summer or very early fall, either one will work. One thing that I think isn't understood by a lot of gardeners is, you think since they're fall and winter annuals that you don't want to plant them too early. I mean, you don't want to plant them in the middle of the summer, but even very late summer and you have quite a bit of heat left, they actually like that. They'll take off a lot faster. Even if it's a little warmer than they usually like for full blooming, that'll help them root and get going. And that heat late in the summer or early fall is actually good to get these starting to bloom. So if we're going to feed it like crazy, I like to use our blend because it has some things in it that I think annual color really responds to. And some of those things you can buy individually. We have a prior video that talks about mycorrhiza, that beneficial fungi that attaches itself to roots. About 15 years ago, it was the first time that I started to hear about the power of mycorrhiza, and it was a friend of mine that managed our local university grounds, and he was telling me that whenever he planted beds of annuals, he incorporated mycorrhiza. Now, mycorrhiza is sensitive to light, so you need to do it in a way where you can get it just slightly under the top of the soil, or if you use a water-soluble one, you water it in while it's dark or late in the evening. But you don't want to leave it on top of the ground subject to light. So mycorrhiza, I found that it really is powerful with annual color. And that's one reason why I like to use our Maximize, because it's full of mycorrhiza. Our Maximize is in the blend. In addition to Maximize, I like to use some type of organic fertilizer. So the blend has nourish-biosol, so it has macronutrients in terms of nitrogen, a little bit of phosphorus and potassium, and it has a lot of micronutrients. And then it has a bunch of minerals that feed life. And I found that blend with annuals is really powerful, and we want to get it in there working as soon as we do the planting, when we still have that warm weather. That way it can translocate through the roots and start to really make the soil, improve the soil immediately, and improve the bloom of the plant immediately. So you could use these types of plants to try to get color most of the year. In fact, a lot of them are really perennials. It's just that they start to look really bad in the summer. Almost every single one of these that I'm showing you today, that's really its downfall, is intense heat makes them look lousy. But if you wanted to not, how annual color is a lot of hard work, and you have to keep replacing things if you don't want to do that, you could pick plants like dianthus and snapdragons that really look good most of the year and bloom most of the year. They just have that period in the summer where they don't look so good. And then you could put in a summer annual there, marigolds and that type of thing, lots of summer annuals. Or you could have a month or two where you have nothing. And you could use these kinds of plants and probably get 8 months of pretty good bloom if you time the plantings properly and feed them properly, as I discussed in the last one. Snapdragons, everybody knows snapdragons, and they pretty much will grow all seasons. Again, they don't like summer. This is one that, let's say we planted these in the area where we are now, where it's starting to get around freezing. You can see these little buds. They're trying to bloom, but we're probably not going to advance much past this stage until the weather changes. So it's probably, if we plant these in the ground, they're going to look like this in December and January, and then early February they'll start to bloom, and then they'll do great in February, March, April, even May, maybe even the beginning of June. But then they, you kind of have that decision to make. When they're looking their best, you need to decide, do I need to take them out in order to plant summer annuals, which is kind of a personal decision. So you can get great color without planting the traditional flowers, and the flowering kale or flowering cabbages are great examples of excellent plants for the fall and the winter. They actually take heat probably even less than the other plants that I showed you. This is called Nagoya red. Some people call it flowering kale, some people call it flowering cabbage. It looks like a kale or cabbage. Grows like crazy in the fall and the winter, stays this color all the time, is really reliable for annual color, and then a little bit into the spring. As soon as it gets warm, you'll see them decline. So that's the Nagoya red, and then just the red flowering kale, very similar but not as multicolored, and then you can contrast that with white flowering kale. Easy to grow, but I'd use the same planting principles in terms of the timing. Probably doesn't have to be quite as early because they are more sensitive to heat, so I'd probably wait more into the fall for all of these flowering cabbages or flowering kales. One that is a lot harder to grow, delphinium, is damaged by very cold weather and it's damaged by very hot weather. There's lots of varieties of delphinium. They all have these spectacular, deep bluish purple flowers, which is why people are attracted to them. The beauty of the flower is undisputable. Most of them are perennials, but they tend to go through bad periods. I don't use them much because they're much, especially in our climate with very hot weather, they're harder to grow. They're more for a garden hobbyist to grow rather than somebody who's in the business and wants to plant a job and not necessarily go back there every other week to attend to it. So it's a higher maintenance flower, but spectacular, and it is possible to grow in a lot of different parts of the country. Regardless of what kind of bloom you're after, the key to bloom and flowers is healthy soil. So much so that we did a video exclusively about that, how to maximize bloom, and that is at the heart of the health of your soil. So if your soil is healthy and you plant the right plant at the right time, you're going to get tremendous bloom.
Hey there, friends. Thanks for watching our video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell. Want to learn more about our products? Then head over to our website, www.johnandbobs.com.